The Paso for me was always the kind of the challenge out of the 5 dances, because in theory it was the one I really loved and found interesting, because it was kind of the odd one out. It was more dark, it was more, it had different layers in terms of the story. But I also felt for me as a character, it didn't necessarily suit whatever I saw on the floor. What I mean by that is that whatever I saw people danced and which part of the Paso that they grabbed onto was very much the aggressive, the angry, the hard part of the Paso. And me as a character, I'm not that person. So I either had to kind of get into and find that side of me and find, okay, where do I actually get that aggressiveness in me? Or I had to find, how do I want to dance the Paso? How do I want to maybe change it and feel that I find a way that this is how I imagine it? So it of course took some time, and what I feel very much that helped me was the whole communication between the man and the woman. And that for me to create what I find interesting in the Paso is the atmosphere. And for me, in order to have atmosphere, I need build-up. I need to suddenly do something. But if I did that only, it wouldn't work. I need to be able to stretch time, and people's going, what's going to come, what's going to come, what's going to come, and nothing's going to come this time. Because it's what I used to build up for that's interesting. And then you're like, oh, I thought someone's going to come, and then when the least is expected, then it's going to come. That's what I feel is interesting about the Paso, with the communication of the man and the woman. Now, to be fair, I felt I struggled quite a bit because it wasn't powerful enough for the competition floor for a long time. Because even though it looks subtle and it looks in some way quiet, it requires even more internal work. So the quietness, even though I look quiet, inside my body, there's so much going on. Because I have to actually control. If I just do the position, now it's empty. Yeah? So to be able to create that inner resistance in the body and be able to build that up and control it, so it's not just that, okay, I'm building up and now I have to go because I don't have to control. But I'm actually able to stay as long as I want in that resistance until I change it. Yeah? That was the challenge for me, because that's when I suddenly found that Paso is soft, it's elastic, it's explosive, it's sensual, it has so many other things than just aggression and power. Yeah? And especially when Ina and I started to develop the Paso in the choreography, of course, as a woman, I don't feel that power and aggression suits a woman. Yeah? The second that, of course, the woman can bite, but she never leaves it all. She bites and then she's like, okay, I'm going to leave. That's usually what we get. Yeah? And then we stay with it. Like, oh, okay. But I don't believe necessarily in between the man and the cape, the man and the bull, the man. I think it's too simple. I think that we use inspiration for it, and I'm imagining that I have a cape in my own body as I'm dancing it around. But that's my own imagination. Yeah? Yeah. However Ina chooses to respond to that, I don't think she imagined herself as a floating cape around. Yeah? But she sees that as a lead. She don't imagine herself as a bull running, because that's not feminine and sexy and has that mystery in it. Yeah? So, first of all, I'm going to share with you a few tools in order to actually set up our bodies to be able to find that control that we have, the suspense in our body. Because suspense is exactly the word that I like. Suspense and elasticity in my own body, so I can actually release something. Because in the Paso, there's a lot of build-up and release. But the release is such a small part of it. It's so short, and it's such a small part of our body that I actually release. What I mean by that is that I sometimes see a lot of physical work, and then I drop. And I release everything. Now my release, I build up, my release is literally just my weight dropping. That's the only thing I do. Everything else I'm still cold. Yeah? Another thing that we often do in Paso, which is very different than a lot of the other dances, is that we have body isolation. So I can actually do arms without necessarily have to, in a rumba, we will dance the action and then dance the arms. Yeah? In Paso, we can have a much more still lifted upper body and do our legs. Yeah? In rumba, that would look like it's disconnected. The same thing with the arms. I can actually do my arms and my legs. Of course, there's a shape in my body that supports. If I just stay here and do arms, no good. In my body, I have a shape that supports that, whatever I'm doing. Yeah? So it's incorporated, they support each other, but they're not necessarily coordinated in the same way as we understand coordination in the other dances. Yeah? That's quite an important thing for me when I realized that actually creates quite a lot of freedom, that I can actually design much more what I'm going to do. Yeah? Okay, so pure mechanically, the challenge that we have is that we want to create a different shape, a different type of posture compared to the other dances. Yeah? Now, the first thing that we are being told is that the pelvic has to go forward, hips forward, right? That's kind of the typical Paso look. Now, the difficult part about that is that the second we put the pelvic forward, often I see back-weighted shoulders, back-weighted dropped shoulders, and there's not enough of actually posture and openness in our upper body. Yeah? So, if we just focus on the lower body first, I see it like this. If you open your legs and you literally squeeze your glutes, squeeze your body, that's it. Now, close your feet and keep the squeeze. Now already my hips are tight here. Yeah? So I still keep the tightness, but I have a flexibility in my knees. Yeah? Good. Now from here, the second thing that we want to do is a bit what I spoke about yesterday in terms of using our foot as the train track. So every time I'm talking about body weight, I imagine literally the old toys with the trains, and I have to put the train tracks down and drive the train on top. The train is my body weight, and the train tracks is my feet. So if there's no more foot, my body weight can't go. And the only path that the train can go is on the actual tracks. It can't go a lot like away from the tracks. Yeah? So whenever I'm here and I've done this, breathe, put, now my body weight is, again, as you said yesterday, located in my hips. I want to only go into the foot and through the foot. So I know very clearly when is the range. Now I can't go any further unless I will then take a step. So in order to be able to understand how I can actually go through that foot with my body weight and create that shape there without feeling the necessity to have to go, was by going through the foot. So in other words, I also felt that instead of pushing the pelvic forward, I felt there was a string attached to my tailbone with a heavy element going down. So no matter what I was going, even the look was forward, the feeling was actually I dropped my tailbone down towards my heels. Yeah? That gives me a more current sense of stability, not a drifting one. So even if I go here and I with that, I can stay here. Even if I'm I can feel suspense in my body, I'm not in a drift, as we'll call it. Yeah? Now from here, first thing, in order for you to get a tool to, if you feel you're falling, there's a tool to how to catch the balance, and that's your elbows. So the more you go forward, try to keep your elbows back. So already here, I can actually stay more forward. If I release them now, I'm in a drift. Exactly. So that's just as a tool for you to get, like, I'm falling, try to get your elbows more back. Now I feel more stable. Then I can readjust inside, and now I'm not depending on the elbows again. Yeah? Clear?
Yeah.
Great. The challenge now is how do we connect the lower part of the body to the upper part? Yeah? And that's a bit what I said yesterday as well, for those who were there for the rumba, the cha-cha, was how we connected the center and how I'm using the core into the upper body to actually make a certain lift. Yeah? That's the same thing I do here, when I actually put my pelvic forward into my feet here. Now, in order to create space, I have to, let me take this off. I have to, from here, extend my back. So actually by trying to fit, you can see there's a curve in my back. Yeah. By trying to make that longer, not to make the curve, actually makes my chest more forward. So I'm not thinking chest forward because now I'm falling again. I'm actually thinking this going back and up. So now there's a resistance pulling me more back than forward. Understand? It's quite a difficult, but again, as I said, for those who, even if we do the plank, that feeling of pushing that back up so we don't disconnect, that's literally the feeling I want. So when we're here, we do the plank, whoop, that's the feeling we want. Because now, we want to just open the shoulders. Yes. And that's literally just the joints here. Yeah? The joints here. Good. That's the setup of my body in the Paso. So again, if we do it from like a step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, again, of course I don't start my Paso like that, but it's a good way for feeling just to squeeze that. So we do squeeze there, close the feet. Drop the tailbone, drive through the feet. Elongate your back, lift that up and dance it back like you do in the plank. Whoop, now open your shoulders back. Great. Now already, if we did sideways, we already have a certain body posture. But we are not in a drift. Yeah? Great. Now, another thing we can add to that is shape and rotation. So as my hips are going forward, I can use the upper body rotation. So I can now, if I stay facing the mirror, I can turn my right shoulder towards that mirror down there. But my hips still stay. Now try again to explore how much more forward can you go into your foot without moving, without falling. So you can now feel the resistance between your right shoulder going back and your hips going into your foot. Very good. So you constantly kind of get tools on how to oppose that weight driving force going through your feet. So I can use my elbows, I can use my shoulder, and it's all connected to me trying to explore the range in my feet in order to create that suspense of body weight. Yeah? Now, shape is just an extension of the rotation. So if I stay here, and I put my body weight forward, all this, elongate, and I rotate, and now if I want to shape, what I do is that I stretch the opposite shoulder in the opposite direction. So shape is always created from a longer side. Because this is what I see a few times on the floor as well, and I've done it myself, is when we want to create a shape, and we drop. Yeah? It's created from the other side, becoming long. You see the difference? So now there's actually a shape in my body. Here, there's a collapsed side and a curved side. I need from here to rotate and now stretch the side in the opposite direction in order to create that shape in my body. Yeah? Great. So again, it's the setup of my body, add rotation and add shaping. Okay, and that shaping can be in any way in connection to your core and connection to the body weight. Now, one thing that's quite nice, I realized, because of course when you do these lectures, you build up a lot of knowledge, like practicing yourself and so on, and there are certain things that you have discovered without really knowing that you discovered them, putting word onto it, and now to be able to pass it on to you. And one thing I realized was that whenever we are going into, because we, for instance, have an open promenade, yeah? Now, or whenever we shape things like this, now we open one side, but what is important is that I sometimes see the inside disconnect. Yeah? So I see this. Because we're really trying, but now this is disconnected. So whatever side we are opening is opening. But the opposite side is connecting to the back muscle. So there's a front side opening and a back side connecting. That makes you feel that you can actually, again, if this is my standing leg, I'll connect the inside through my back into that leg, and I would open the opposite side as much as possible. Yeah, that again creates a connection, a position in my body that I can use to create that suspense. Okay? So let's just go through that one more time, through all the stages. Let's try and just face this way so we can actually see our own shapes. So, open up, squeeze the glutes, close the feet, dance the tailbone down and drive through your foot. Engage your core. Open your chest, add the rotation. Now open your left side and connect your shoulder on your right side in the back. Great. Nice. Now from here, try to drive everything stays, but now drive your weight through your feet, through your feet, through your feet. Yeah? So you can feel that there's a moment where you have to release. And it's to give into that moment and take charge of that moment rather than say, oh, I'm falling, oh, I fell. There's a realization moment where it's, okay, now I can't go anymore. Now I have to make a decision. So in Paso, I'm always imagining the next position I want to go into. Yeah? A little bit different than in rumba. I still imagine where I want to go. But in rumba, I'm very much appearing into the position. Yeah? In Paso, from here, if I'm in a position where I'm, for instance, here, I already imagine where I want to be. So I'm appearing into the position. And from there, I can now extend. Even if a position is not an extension, I imagine it before I go there. So it's not that I'm from here, and now I'm falling, and now I got there. And now I start growing. Then we're constantly linked in our shapes. So I'm constantly imagining, okay, where I want to be, here. Here. I'm imagining before I do it. So I can decide through my shapes, what do I have to change in my body to actually go there? Yeah? That's quite an important thing because that makes the clarity of the pictures you want to create much better. Yeah? Because we want so much elasticity and opposition in our bodies, if we, as in a rumba, would emphasize on the transitions. If I emphasize on the transitions, there's a very little chance, unless we have 5 beats, that we actually get to the end products that we want. So I would suggest that again, if I'm traveling from one position to another, I would appear into the position much earlier. So now I can use the time to extend into the next thing. Yeah? Where we often, because of the way that our body weight is traveling in a rumba and a cha-cha, we will be much more, okay, how can we actually get into, and that's already the music is wrong. And it doesn't have that bite that I like, that I missed in some way actually in my own past, that it has the bite, but it still has the elasticity to what we want to do. Yeah? So, this is all decisions that I made. And that's what I got inspired by. That's the one thing that I definitely took from the Matador, was that commitment and decisions that he was looking at that ball and he made a decision on how he wanted to play with it. He made a decision because if there was 1 second of doubt in what he did, he would get killed. That urge and that necessity to be fully focused and committed, rather than the aggression and the, I need to kill it and I need, like that was what I got into. The focus and this is a matter of life and death, and if I'm not focused, I will get killed. Yeah? That was literally, that's the intensity that I'm talking about. And for me and Nina to get that together, she can have a totally different story. It can all be about, again, imagination. It can be about, oh, very dramatic, I killed her brother, and now it's about revenge. But literally, that's what we do in dancing. It's theater. So whatever gives her that, I need, or I cheated on her, or whatever, it doesn't matter. Yeah? Whatever gets that urge, it's a play, it's dancing. And it can be that I think about, that was the dramatic side. It can also be, oh, he took my favorite candy. Really, it doesn't matter. Whatever puts yourself in that mood. And I can be, that's why I think intention is a huge subject that we could get into, because it really doesn't matter what you are thinking about. What is important is that I get something from it. It's not a play where I have to get the point, really, but I have to get something. So even by me thinking about whatever I think about, you have no clue what I'm thinking about. But you already start, oh, maybe he's thinking about this. Oh, what? You start getting something. And that's the point. You get something. Yeah? And you start to be curious. Or you start to say, oh, maybe I can explore some of that myself. And that we have a lot on in Paso. Because it has a lot of relation between the man and the woman. Yeah? Compared to, for instance, cha-cha, samba, and jive, which is more the playful side. We still have a relation very much, but it's much more in the playful side. It doesn't have that depth about life and death as the Paso has. Yeah? Even if we go back to France, it used to be like the soldiers dancing. So it's still kind of related to fighting and related to, it used to be a ballroom dance just for the soldiers to stand. So again, that was their time, they kind of came back from it, and they now had a good time. But they still carried something with them. So whenever we walk on the floor, we carry something, we imagine something. It's not just a step. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, there's an idea behind. I'm actually imagining the time that we take. Yeah? And I think that's the combination between what I imagine, but having the tools in our body to be able to produce that. And allow ourselves to go there sometimes and add the imagination before we think, oh, I can be better mechanically. I need to be better mechanically. We all do. There's a reason why they produce a Rolls Royce once in a while. Apart from they want to earn money, but they make small improvements, they make small changes. Even the best things need small changes. But we still need to compete, or we still need to express actually. For me, expression is competition. I want to deliver my best product on how I'm actually able to express myself on the floor. And I believe if you get that, that's competitiveness for me. It's not about trying to just show a clear timing or whatever. It's actually about expressing the best way possible. Okay, great. I want to give you a small routine just for you to explore.